Hello everybody, this is Tip Top MTG here today with the final episode of me covering Ikoria, Layer Behemoth spoilers. So in today's video, there are a ton of spoilers, so I'm going to show you them in a bigger format, as I'm going to have to go through them a little quicker. Otherwise this video would end up being like 2 hours. But basically I'm going to show you all the spoilers that came out today. Any of the bigger ones, I might tell you how I think they're going to affect Standard, and just point out some interesting things about the cards. So why don't we jump right into this? So, looking at the first four, we have Blade Banish, which is an instant, 4-cost instant. It says exile target creature with power 4 or greater. For 4, I mean, it's okay. I would have preferred that it was maybe one more and didn't have that restriction. It was just exile target creature, but it's honestly fine. It's going to be good and limited because most of the creatures in the set are going to be pretty big. We have Coordinated Charge, which is a 5-cost instant, and it says creatures you control get +2/+1 until end of turn, so you're getting a boost spell. Kind of expensive, but you can cycle it away. So, for instance, you don't have any creatures, or you're just not needing this card, you can just get a different one. We have Day Squad Marshal, a 4-cost creature, human soldier, 3/3, and when it enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So, again, more human synergy there. Also note, a lot of these cards are going to be limited based. Divine Arrow is one example of that. No one is going to pay 2 at instant speed to deal 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. This is purely a limited card. Then we have a 6-cost Imposing Vantasaur. It's a 3/6 with Vigilance, and it has Cycling 1. Again, a very good card for limited. It's a big creature that can both attack and block. And if you don't need that, or you just don't have the mana to cast it, you can cycle it for 1. We have Light of Hope, which is a 1-cost instant. It says you gain 4 life, destroy target enchantment, and put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. Honestly, for 1, that's not bad. If you're about to die, gain 4 life. Your opponent's put out a really scary creature, destroy target enchantment. You need a creature of yours to be bigger, put a counter on it. I could see this totally going in like a feather deck, where you can just keep putting counters on things for 1 at instant speed, and then if you need to, you can then gain 4 life or destroy target enchantment. So, actually pretty good. Serval is a 2-cost creature cat with Vigilance. It's a 1/4. Pretty generic. It's a good mutate target. We have Perimeter Sergeant. It's a 3-cost creature, human soldier, 3/2, and whenever it attacks other humans you control, get +1/+0 until end of turn. So again, we're seeing more human synergy, although most human synergy seems to be revolving around tapping, but this one seems to be more about boosting. We have Solid Footing. It's a 1-cost enchantment aura, and it says enchanted creature gets +1/+1, and as long as enchanted creature has Vigilance, it assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. So you're pretty much going to want a super high toughness, similar to this Imposing Vantasaur Vigilance creature that you're going to put this on. So, I mean, it's interesting. Also, if you had another enchantment or a creature with mutate that could give something Vigilance, that could also be interesting. We have Aegis Turtle. It's a 1-cost 0/5. Might be a nice target for Solid Footing if you could give it Vigilance. We have Anticipate, which is a very standard card. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. I believe this is legal and standard now. Avian Oddity. It's a 4-cost creature bird with flying and cycling 3. So if you don't need it, you can cycle it for 3. It's kind of high when its actual cost is 4, but whenever you cycle it, put a flying counter on target creature you control. So if you want to just put flying on something, you can do that. Next we have Convolute. It says counter target spell unless its controller pays 4. Honestly, just play Cancel or Sinister Sabotage or any of that. Although in limited, again, it's okay. Crustacean, whatever. It's a 4-cost creature crab with flash, and it has a 1/6. It is a 1/6. We have seen a bunch of cards that care about casting things at instant speed or casting things with flash, so that fits nicely into that. Facet Reader. It's a 2-cost creature human wizard. 1/2. Pay 1. Tap. Draw a card. Then discard a card. It's good for loading your graveyard. We have seen some cards that care about instant and sorceries in your graveyard. So overall, not bad. Actually, I might see Is it Drakes maybe running 1 or 2 of these to just cycle through their hand, draw some cards, do all that kind of stuff. We have Frost Lynx, which is a 3-cost creature, elemental cat, 2/2, and when it enters the battlefield, tap target creature an opponent controls. That creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. This is legal in standard now. It was printed in Core Set 2020, which means that it will be in standard for a whole nother 2 rotations. So interesting. We have Frost Veil Ambush. It's a 5-cost instant. It says tap up to 2 target creatures. Those creatures don't untap during their controller's next untap step. And it has cycling 1, so if your opponent's not playing a lot of creatures, or you just don't need this right now, or you don't have a good way to benefit from them being tapped, you can just cycle it. Then we have Glimmer Belt, so 2-cost, 1/3 flying elemental jellyfish, and you can pay 2 to untap it. So, I mean, if you could mutate this in such a way that it has an ability, like if you could somehow mutate something that taps for mana, which I don't think there is right now, you might be able to do something interesting with that. We have Gust of Wind. It's a 4-cost sorcery, and it says this spell costs 2 less to cast if you control a creature with flying, so more flying synergy, which I feel like there's been flying synergy in literally the past 3 sets. Maybe no, even 4 sets. So wow. Return target non-land permanent you don't control to its owner's hand, then draw a card. So it's a 2-cost. Return something you don't control to its owner's hand at sorcery speed. You get the advantage of drawing a card. Not that great. Then we have Hampering Snare. Creatures your opponents control get -2/-0 until end of turn and cycle it for 2. So if your opponents aren't playing creatures again, or they don't have a lot of creatures out, you can cycle it in order to get like a game winner. We have Mystical Subdual. It's a 2-cost enchantment aura flash. Enchant creature. Enchant creature is -2/-0 and loses all ability. And then it says mutating onto the creature won't give it new abilities. It can gain abilities in other ways. Okay, so they had to put reminder text there. We are seeing another like loses all abilities type thing, so that's kind of interesting. This is definitely a shutdown for mutate. We have a Mythos of Eluna. It's a 4-cost sorcery. Create a token that's a copy of target permanent. If red and green was meant to cast a spell and create a token that's a copy of that permanent, except it has, whenever this permanent enters the battlefield, if it's a creature, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Honestly, just play this for the duplicate. The other part just isn't that great. I mean, if you're already running those 4 colors, cool, you might be able to do something interesting with that, but just play it for the duplicate. We have Startling Development. It's a 2-cost instant. Until end of turn, target creature becomes a blue serpent with base power toughness 4/4. So this can be used to, if your opponent has like a 13/13, now it's a 4/4. If you have a 1/1, now it's a 4/4. Generally pretty good. And if everything's already 4/4, cycle it. Cycling's kind of nice in that way. Then we have a Wingspan Mentor, another one in a cycle. Creature, human wizard, 1/3, and when it enters the battlefield, put a flying counter on target non-human creature you control. So you just make something fly. And you pay 3 and put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control with flying. Not bad. Now we're moving into the black spoilers. We have when it enters the battlefield, target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-2 until end of turn. Remove all counters from that creature. So if they're using ability counters, if they are getting +1/+1 counters, not bad. We have Boutonnat Birds, a 2-cost creature, and it enters the battlefield with your choice of either Death Touch or Lifelink. That's not bad. I mean, we have 2/1s for 2 that have Lifelink, and this one gives you at least the option to have Death Touch. They're not played, but they do exist. We have Corpse Churn. It's a 2-cost instant. Put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Then you may return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. So we're seeing a little bit of self-mill, and then you can revive things for 2. Not bad. Dark Bargain. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 2 of them into your hand and the other into your graveyard. It deals 2 damage to you. So an interesting little instant speed draw spell for black. We have Dead Weight. This is a reprint. It's 1 black, enchantment aura. Enchanted creature gets -2/-2. So it just stays in standard for a little longer. We have Durable Coil Bug. It's a 2-cost creature insect, and you can pay 5 to return it from your graveyard to your hand. Nice and limited. If you're running out of things to do, just keep bringing it back. Then we have another rare here. It's Hunted Nightmare. It's a 3-cost creature nightmare with menace, and whenever it enters the battlefield, target opponent puts a Death Touch counter on a creature they control. So the idea here is that you're paying 3 for a 4/5 with menace, and if your opponent only has 1 creature, they're going to have to block with 2 creatures. I don't really think this is going to work well. I wish the payoff was a little bit bigger, but I also don't, because the payoff is temporary. If they can just kill the creature you put a Death Touch counter on, this is just a really nice value, so I'm not sure. And then Lurking Deadeye, it's a 4-cost creature, human assassin with flash, and whenever it enters the battlefield, destroy target creature that was dealt damage this turn. So generally pretty good. I mean, pretty good in a limited sense. And it has flash, so you can do it on your opponent's turn. We have Memory Leak. Sorcery. Target opponent reveals their hand. You choose a non-land card from it, and from that player's graveyard or hand, and exile it. So This also shuts down some graveyard shenanigans, and then you can cycle it. So if they have nothing in their hand you worry about, or you've already looked at their hand and they have nothing, you can just cycle this away. Mutual Destruction. As this spell has flash as long as you control a permanent with flash. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature, and then you can destroy target creature. So this is a Blood for Bones, I believe it is. No, this is like a Spark Harvest or Spark Removal kind of card. So it's instant speed if you control a permanent with flash, but you do have to sacrifice a creature. It's okay. We'll definitely see play unlimited. We have Night Squad Commando. It's a 3-cost creature human soldier, and when it enters the battlefield, if you attack this turn, create a 1/1 white human soldier creature token. So, I mean, you're not even getting a 33 for 3. You are getting 2 humans. If you have human tribal, it might be kind of nice, but kind of just a limited card. We have Serrated Scorpion. It's a 1-cost creature, and when it dies, you deal 2 damage to each opponent. You gain 2 life. So just a nice little thing that you might want to sacrifice and then bring back, and then sacrifice and bring back. Not bad. We have Suffocating Fumes. Creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 until end of turn, so you're going to kind of wipe mono red out. But, I mean, they've been running things with higher toughness kind of recently. Either way, then we have Unexpected Fangs, 2-cost instant. Put a +1/+1 counter and a lifelink counter on target creature. So, +1/+1 and lifelink for 2. Yes. And it's also permanent. It's not just for 1 turn that it's getting +1/+1 in lifelink. That's kind of insane. I feel like that could totally see a lot of play. We have Unlikely Aid. We saw this in oh my gosh, War of the Spark. It's a 2-cost instant. Target creature gets +2/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn. I don't know why they have reminder text on indestructible. I don't think it's that hard of a mechanic to understand. Now looking at it, a lot of these cards have reminder text. I thought that was something that only happened in core sets. Whispering Squad. Whisper Squad. It's a 1-cost creature human soldier. Pay 2. Search your library for a card named Whisper Squad. Put it onto the battlefield tapped. Then shuffle your library. If it wasn't onto the battlefield, that'd be pretty garbage. It's still pretty garbage. But in a draft environment, if you can get a bunch of these, you can just quickly get a bunch of creatures out. Could be interesting. Then Blazing Volley, 1-cost, sorcery, deal 1 damage to each creature your opponents control, which isn't going to do much against really big creatures, but whatever. You know what it will do something against? Blister Spit Gremlin. It's a 1-cost creature gremlin. Pay 1, tap it, and it deals 1 damage to each opponent. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, untap it. So you can pay 1 basically every time you cast a non-creature to deal 1 damage to each opponent. It's okay. Not really going to see play. Ferocious Tigerilla. It's a 4-cost creature cat ape. And it says it enters the battlefield with your choice of a trample or menace counter. So if you need trample, go with trample. If you need menace, go with menace. Then there's Frenzied Raptor. It's a 3-cost 4/2. Again, just another mutate target. We have Heightened Reflexes. It's a 1-cost instant. Target creature gets +1/+0 until end of turn. Put a first strike counter on it. So for 1, you can permanently give something first strike. Not terrible. We have a 6-cost Lava Serpent, which is 5/5 with haste. It's an elemental serpent, and with cycling 2. And then we have Prickly Marmoset. It's a 3-cost creature monkey with first strike, and whenever you cycle a card, it gets bigger. Not going to really see play in a standard, like, constructed cycling deck, but if you're putting something together in limited, it might be a nice little payoff. We have Pyroceratops. It's a 4-cost creature elemental dinosaur with trample, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, put a +1/+1 counter on Pyroceratops. That's kind of crazy. It's kind of like a Johnny's Pricemate, but for non-creature spells. We have Raking Claws. It's a 2-cost instant, and target creature gains double strike until end of turn. So for 2, you can just give something double strike. I believe we have something slightly better in standard right now, but you can also just cycle it away. So if you don't have any creatures, just cycle it away. We have Rumbling Rockslide. Pay 4. It deals damage equal to the number of the lands you control to target creature. So encouraging you for going pretty big and ramping with lands. Different approach for red there. We have Spell Eater Wolverine. It's a 3-cost creature Wolverine, and it has double strike as long as there are 3 more instant or sorcery cards in your graveyard. Again, I don't think this is going to see play in constructed, but in limited, if you're putting together an instant and sorcery based deck, this is definitely a nice little payoff. We have Adventurous Impulse. Pay 1. Sorcery. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature or land card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. I believe this is a reprint, and not bad. We have Evacuation Maul. 3/3 creature mole with trample, and whenever it enters the battlefield, put the top 3 cards of your library into your graveyard. Okay. And then Flycatcher Giraffid. It's a 5-cost creature, Antelope Lizard, and it enters the battlefield with your choice of a Vigilance counter or a Reach counter. So if you need to block flyers, do it. If you don't, Vigilance. We have Greater Sandworm. It's a 7-cost creature worm, and it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and you can cycle it away if you don't need it, or you can't cast it right now. Honey Mammoth is a 6-cost creature elephant, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain 4 life. Not bad in limited. It can give you a couple more turns. We have Humble Naturalist. It's a 2-cost creature human druid, 1/3, and tap, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast creature spells. We have much better ramp in standard right now. Ivy Elemental. It's an X green creature elemental, and it enters the battlefield with X+1/+1 counters on it. So it's an elemental that should be a Hydra. Just kidding. We have Plummet, 2-cost instant, destroy target creature with flying. We have better cards in standard, and this card in standard. We have a Ram Through, 2-cost instant, destroy target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't. If the creature you control has trample, the excess damage is dealt to the creature's controller instead. So you pretty much just send this guy to attack and make someone block. Interesting. So, I mean, if they have a 1/1, you can actually just use this to deal damage directly to a player, which is kind of interesting. We have Sun Spinnerets. It's a instant. It says target creature gets +1/+3 until end of turn. Put a reach counter on it. Untap it. So for 1, untap it. Put a reach counter on it. Not bad. We have Survivor's Bond. It's a 2-cost sorcery, which choose one or both. Return target human card from your graveyard to your hand. Return target non-human card from your graveyard to your hand. So creature card, by the way, not just any card. Not bad. Especially for limited. We have Genesis Ultimatum, so we have another of the Ultimatum rare cycle. It's a green, blue, red sorcery. Look at the top 5 cards of your library, put any number of permanent cards from among them onto the battlefield, and the rest into your hand. So, if you could pay 7 in ridiculous colors and reveal 5 lands. You could also pay 7 in ridiculous colors and reveal 5 Eldrazi, if you're not playing standard. So, yeah, I'm not sure. I think the destroying all permanents on your opponent's side is probably better, because you could literally hit nothing with this. Yeah, it's okay. Worst case scenario, you're going to draw 5 cards. Yeah. Titan's Nest, pay 1 black, green, blue enchantment. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. So a nice way to mill yourself, and blue and black definitely likes to do that. And then you can exile cards from your graveyard to add colorless. Spend this mana only to cast colored spells without X in its mana cost. So you can't use this to pay for X spells, which is kind of lame. But it makes sense, because if you have 32 cards in your graveyard, by the way, this is insane. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may look at the top card of your library and put it in your graveyard. So every turn, this can just give you 1 mana, or you could mill yourself, and a spell that says mill you for 4 basically just said create 4 treasure tokens that only tap for colorless. So, yeah, that could be crazy. Next, we have Yorion Sky Nomad. It's a 3 white or blue legendary creature bird serpent, so it's a companion. It says your starting deck must contain at least 20 cards more than the maximum deck size. It's one of the least restrictive ones I've seen. You might run this in a mono blue like Persistent Petitioner's deck. And it says when it enters the battlefield, exile any number of other non-land permanents you own and control. Return those to the battlefield at the beginning of the next end step. So when it enters the battlefield, flicker a whole bunch of stuff, which is kind of cool, because if you can flicker this, then you can flicker everything. I could totally see this going as just a normal card within a Thassa flicker deck, because now, instead of having to choose one of your targets to flicker, you can flicker all of your targets. Like, think about it. You just play this. Thassa's going to flicker it. When it enters the battlefield, you can flicker everything else. And if you were to duplicate this using something like Spark Double, you could theoretically just, like, infinitely flicker these, which is kind of interesting. We have Adaptive Shimmerer. It's a 5-cost creature insect with flash, and it says it enters the battlefield with 3+1/+1 counters on it. So, kind of expensive, but it is colorless, so it's useful in draft and in limited. We have Sleeper Dart. It's a 2-cost artifact, and when it enters the battlefield, draw a card. So for 2, draw a card in colorless, not bad for limited. Tap it, sacrifice Sleeper Dart. Target creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. So generally pretty good. You can tap this the turn it comes out. Then we have Spring Jaw Trap. It's a 1-cost artifact with flash, and you can pay 4, tap it, and sacrifice it. It deals 3 damage to any target, so colorless, just damage. Then we have a bunch of like the gain life land, so they enter the battlefield tapped and you gain life, and Evolving Wilds is staying in standard. So yeah, those are all those. And then we have a look at the basic lands, which look pretty good. I'm probably going to stick with my Theros lands. But yeah, that is going to do it for... Oh, I forgot. There was one from yesterday that was spoiled later, which is this. It's a land, tap it for colorless, and you can pay 3 to draw a card, activate this ability only if you control a creature with power 4 or greater. So if you're running a deck that has a lot of high-power creatures, that totally could be something you'd throw in there. Either way, that's going to do it for this video. There has been a lot of exciting cards. I am excited. I think Mutate's a little overly complicated. I'm going to be doing more videos covering Ikoria, so hit that subscribe button and the bell icon so you're notified every time I upload. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.